everybody, and welcome to the Australian eCrit powered by Kiss. My name is Jesper Anker, and as always, I'm joined by the great, the funny, and the fast Wesley Salzberg. How are you doing, Wes?
I'm good, Jasper, and looks like we've got a bit of a grid on the start line tonight, and we are getting ready to rumble, aren't we?
We are. So this is a one-off Kiss Australian eCrit race as we're getting ready for the Australian winter. Great racing. We had our first broadcast and race last week, which was won by the great Boom Bike number 2, with Cameron Roberts being the official winner, as he was the only Australian in that front group. And did you know last week, Wes, Cameron Roberts averaged 5 watts per kilo for that entire race? It's pretty unreal.
5 watts a kilo, and he was certainly didn't let up on the cadence as well. He was up around that 90 mark the whole way, and that last couple of laps he started to go down into a little bit more pain into the 80 RPM mark. But we should see a couple of names in there tonight as well. Just we've got a world triathlon champion that's been in the championships a couple of times, finished 4th a couple of times in the world championships.
Ooh. Unfortunately, he's not Australian. It's early morning here in mainland Europe. We got Ronnie Schiltenecht. You'll see once the race starts, he's going to have a little tick right next to his name. And he's actually a very highly skilled Ironman athlete. So in 2008, I believe, he was 4th in the European Championships. And 2012, or it could be the other way around, he was 4th in the World Championships of Ironman. And Wes, you've done triathlons in the past, haven't you? They're pretty tough.
They are pretty tough, absolutely. So like I've done a couple of duathlons, but never triathlons. So with the swim in there as well, that's something that I'd have to certainly work on if I wanted to jump in there with the big fellas.
So the race is about to start in 20 seconds time. If you're watching right now over the Zwift Facebook page, wherever you're watching, make sure to give it a reaction, give it a like. Let us know in the comment section below where you're watching from in the world. Are you watching down under, or are you watching in Europe with a coffee and your breakfast on the table? Because in 8 seconds, today's race here is 8 laps of the Volcano counterclockwise circuit is just about to get underway. We're going to have 20 riders in the front group of racing today in the A group. It is a mass start, so all the categories on Zwift that are racing will be together until they hit the first slopes of the volcano. I do recognize one big name, Wes, and you will know him quite well as well. It is Linton Savatsky. For the guys out there and the girls that don't know Linton, what kind of rider is he?
Linton. So Linton, yeah, he made the final last year, and he's certainly one of those riders who doesn't die wondering. He'll go with the moves, and he'll have a good crack. And as well, like he likes to sort of make sure that he follows those moves and make sure he makes that vital. If there is a break, he'll be one to sort of move with it and explore the options really. And he's been also up there in some of the sprints as well.
I remember him as being one of the best sprinters on the flat road. So whenever when we did the eCrit last year, it was a race series over months of racing, and Linton Savatsky would be there throughout pretty much the entirety of the whole thing. And Linton Savatsky would almost dominate whenever we were on the London Classics course, which we were last week. This week we're on Watopia, which is the Volcano counterclockwise circuit, which has got a bit more of a kick to the finish on the line, where Linton really struggled to get over the top when like ex-pro Pat Shaw
of Ockerby.
Yeah,
Ockerby as well.
Air Force. It's a really tough kick to the line, and it looks like we're using the same courses as last year. Other than Linton Savatsky, I also see James Hodges, the Hedgehog from KRT, is out here racing. I raced him very recently, and I can tell you one thing, Wes. This guy likes a time trial. He likes to break away from the peloton and try to attack off the front and inflict pain. I hate this guy. I hate this guy with a passion. He's everything I'm not.
I did a Tour of California stage 2 the other day. We were actually riding together, and he decided to do the same thing, a time trial away from me. I did get him back with about 4K to go and was lucky enough to kick on past him, but he certainly made me work for it.
We've got a first little group, a first little split of 2 seconds, but we've not really entered the volcano yet. This was caused by the quick little ramp onto the tunnel, which we're in now. The gap is 2 seconds back. We got a great rider like Kevin Pauls in the back. We've got several other riders back there. Also, you'll see Schiltenecht, with that little tick next to his name. They're in the chasing group, and we would imagine this would come back together. T-Hor from Innovation Cycling was actually asking me prior to the race if I was live streaming this, and I did tell him to tune in over on Facebook at Go Zwift. So if you're watching, T-Hor, Hey man, right on, 2 second gap. You gotta bridge this, otherwise it could be game over 3 minutes into the race, Wes.
And it looks like we have Albie in there as well. Albie from the Rafa Club in Melbourne. So he's getting amongst there. And he would actually be, I think, he's been using the station in the Rafa Clubhouse in Melbourne. So we have a display on an offer there for people to go try. And Albie's making use of that tonight as well in the store. I think he would be sweating it out now. Hopefully he's got a nice Wahoo kicker mat laid down, because I reckon he's going to get pretty fired up here.
I'm trying to remember the Melbourne store layout. That's the one where we held the finale last year of the eCrit, right? Where you had the first floor and the second floor? Where is the actual station?
The station's been up on the second floor, but I think they've brought it downstairs now, down to the main open floor where the 10 riders were lined up.
So if you're in Australia and you wanted to give this a go, and you don't have this setup at home and you're heading into winter and you just think, maybe I should try it before I go out and buy it because there's that entry level, could they just walk into the Rafa Melbourne store and be like, can I have that and also have an espresso or maybe avocado on toast?
Yeah, pretty much. That's it. I reckon you could get all of those things in one. So yeah, you can do that. We've also got to, if you go to the Zwift website, you can go on the Zwift experience dealers, so throughout the bike shops as well. So if you go to Zwift.com and then you go through to where can I experience Zwift, and that'll direct you through to the other bike shops that are around as well.
3 seconds back out of the UAE, I believe this is. This is, funny enough, Jesper Fulford. So this is a follower of Cycling Hub. He's about 17 years old, and he said, I don't really feel like racing under my real name, Jesper. Would it be okay if I combined your name and Tim Fulford, the other half of Cycling Hub? And I said, go for it. He's 4 seconds off the back here, and it's fun to see that there's that sort of like commitment to the whole cause. So best of luck, Jesper Fulford. 4 seconds back, heart rate of 190 beats per minute. Being 17 years old, I imagine he's got another 15 beats, but he's definitely fighting for it now. So it looks like, Wes, we've got the main group, we've got the main peloton out in the front. It's about 10 riders, 9 riders big. We got Leonard from Innovation, Kevin Haas from Australia. We got Linton Savatsky, Crawford, Michelle, and that's about it from Australia. Out of these, who do you know the most about?
I probably know, the most about, probably, as you said before, with Linton being the main sprinter on the flat pack, and then the next guy I know the most about would be Albie. So you can see it says Al Lacone, I think that's how you say his last name. So A Lacone. So also goes by the name of Albie. So Albie was a very prominent cyclocross racer as well, and very, very, very handy. He actually won the in Adelaide when we had an event on there for the Tour Down Under. He actually won the race there for the Masters, and had a really good race. And just since then he's always been an outdoors rider, and then since then he tried Zwift and actually won the race, and now he's converted. He's one of those people that would never ride indoors, and now look at him go.
He's 10 seconds off the back though, so he's going to need that cyclocross acceleration explosion to actually bridge that gap, but it doesn't look like Albie's got it in him. It's in the front here, and that's mainly due to James Hodges. Another rider I've seen a lot of is Michel from KISS. I believe he's racing for out here. I've seen his name pop up quite a lot in the Australian racing, and I do think we should be keeping an eye on him as we start the first of the 8 laps of the Volcano circuit. It's going to be hot, it's going to be fast in here, and expect a total ride distance of about 40 kilometers in length. It'll take these guys about 55 minutes to an hour of racing this entire circuit. Every lap is about 5 minutes for the fastest and 6 minutes for the chasers in the back. So now, Wes, we've got the initial break. We've survived the initial attack. What happens now in this group ride in the front?
Well, in the front here, they'll start to sort of form together here. I mean, it doesn't look like anything's really going to open up early, and no one's really wanting to lay it down too much because there's still a fair way to go. So we saw Hodge out in front. Hodge been giving a little bit of a test just to see who would come with him. So at the moment, they're just doing that shakeout, like what we usually see and expect in the first couple of laps of any sort of circuit race. They're sort of doing a test, see how it goes. And then we won't probably see any fireworks until later in the race when it gets down to probably the fourth lap sort of to go.
So the race I raced Hodges on recently was Richmond. I was on that race was also Kim Little. And what Hodges and Kim would do is they would just every 30 seconds, they would take turns like putting out punches. And if you were a guy who was a borderline A, like just 4 watts per kilo like me, you just get spat out the back so fast. So I know from experience in this group, if Savatsky and Hodges took it up and started saying, okay, we're going to split this group apart, they could do it, especially Hodges. But I think it's in Linton Savatsky's interest to keep this as together as possible, waiting for a sprint. But it looks like Leonard from Innovation, a very renowned team on Zwift, is trying to break things up.
Yeah, and I've actually, I think it was maybe in the Aussie Hump Day or maybe Pretzel, I think it was actually, that we were riding together. And yeah, he's definitely a strong rider. I think it was Aussie Hump Day, maybe the after party that we had a bit of a tussle in. Yeah, he certainly can ride on Zwift pretty well, and certainly knows how to use his power in the right spots as well.
So following from last week's race, we put a post out into the Zwift Oz Facebook group, which is the Zwift group for everyone that's down under, whether it's Australia, New Zealand, or wherever you are. And we called out the big hitters: Jeffrey Creel, Anthony Ciano, Aaron and Luke Dockerby. It looks like they haven't really shown up yet for this race. Maybe perhaps they'll come and grace our presence next week. But I think what they're really waiting for, Wes, is that grand racing points series where you can win an entry to some sort of finale and there's TV crew from Zwift or whatever. Is there any information or whether or not that may or may not be happening sometime soon?
Yeah, at the moment it looks like it's definitely in the process, and there will be an announcement hopefully in the following week of what's happening with the series. So stay tuned and look out on Zwift Oz Facebook page, and we'll certainly make that clear hopefully as of next week.
We will do. Again, it is interesting to see the same sort of technical difficulty last week. So I brought this up last week that sometimes you can lose connection out on course. It's partially due to the rider being too far away. This is just my thesis, and also maybe perhaps we heard the great Johnny Knopfler say this could also be caused by a poor internet connection from the riders. But it looks like I might have to actually reboot Zwift in a second to get back to the front group, or perhaps not, as they are back together. It is quite interesting that this keeps on happening, and I've seen one certain fix for it, but anyway, I'll see Johnny Knoblet tomorrow and we can speak about this. But this is the Zwift racing of the future. We got 7.5 kilometers in, and we're trying to watch the riders as they're doing the course, the first of 8 laps. So, Wes, give me 1 second and I will restart Zwift on my end. In the meanwhile, Wes, you can talk to everyone about what's been happening down under in Australia, as you are actually is it the territory manager, or what's your title for Zwift?
Yes, I'm the area manager for Australia and New Zealand. So we've got a few things in the works of what we'd like to sort of keep rolling out. Obviously, we're in the cooler months, so Zwift sort of does get busier in those cooler months, and we're picking up new members, which is great, and just getting them involved and letting them know what we have on offer, especially with the likes of some of the Grand Fondos and things that will be coming up throughout the next the months rolling on, and also about some of the key rides, which most of the people that have been using Zwift would know about, like Aussie Hump Day, Pretzel on a Sunday, and then also there's the Chop, there's handicap races, so there's a lot on offer, and also some of the other group workouts which will be coming as well.
How many signups are we up to now on the Aussie Hump Day rides on Wednesdays? How many riders are actually taking part in that?
So I think as of last week, it was 300 or so. So that's not too bad for this early on. Usually, I think in previous years, it would be probably half that at about 150. So it's roughly double in number already. So I think throughout the peak of that, we'll see easily over 500 riders or more. So awesome. It'll be a nice buzz.
That is every Wednesday. I believe it's 7 p.m. Sydney time and it's 10 a.m. European time if you want to take part in that. First few laps are casual, group ride, chat, social, and at the very end there's the famous after party with Tim Searle where you chase the bacon and you have a lot of fun. We do have the racing back on screen. That was a quick pit stop, but technical issues are sorted. We're now 7 laps to go as James Hodges is starting to take it up on the front wearing that KRT kit. One thing I do want to ask you though, Wes, is now that the addition of Alp to Zwift into Zwift, does that mean that like the Aussie Hump Day pretzel is about to become the Alp to Zwift hell?
Yeah, well, could be. It could be. It could be one of the hardest group rides on Zwift, if that is incorporated. So that's something to look out for if it is, because that would certainly. I mean, pretzel as a ride at the moment is 74k, 72k, and it's quite challenging. Yeah, it's not an easy ride. So for it to go up and over out to Zwift, it's certainly going to take it up another level.
Actually, what is more difficult, to do the entire length of the pretzel or to do one out the Zwift? What would you reckon is tougher, Wes?
I guess out to Zwift, because especially in a group ride, you have other people pushing you, and you're climbing the whole time. There's no real breaks or let ups in it, where if you're doing the pretzel, at least you've got some other downhills and things to go, where this is you'd just be pushing against the resistance of the climb the whole way up.
See, I've done both, and I would actually say the pretzel is tougher, because there's that, like, the flat sections where you have to push the watch to stay in there. Like, with the pretzel, it's more of like a mental, like, you're on and you're off, and you have to convince yourself to be on again. Whereas with the Alp to Zwift, it's literally you hit the bottom and you just agree with yourself the next 50 minutes to an hour, unless you're really fast, it's going to suck. So I guess it's personal preference, but if you get lightweight wheels at the top, everything's okay.
So have you done a group ride up after Zwift with a group?
Well, I've done it in a two-man time trial. That's what I've done.
Okay, we see Leonard going off the front here now. So Leonard's decided to lay a little smack down, and looks like there's not too much of a response at the moment from behind, and he's sort of sitting at a pretty low cadence there, around the 70 cadence mark, with he's got his sort of peaks and troughs there with that power, and he's getting up out of the saddle again by the looks of it now, up to 600 watts. And it looks like there's a little bit of reaction now back with the pack, but he looks like he wants to go on with this and wants someone else to come with him by the looks of it.
It's the same situation as last week with Cameron Roberts. I believe it was Birdie who was also in the front group with Boombox. Like, there are the three strongest riders in this peloton is Leonard, Hodges, and Linton Savatsky. A breakaway will not go unless there's at least two of them in that group. So if it was Leonard and Hodges, it would probably stay away, with Linton Savatsky chasing in the back and trying to bridge. So I think what we're going to see today is a three-man breakaway go at some point, because it is 8 laps. 8 laps is a really long time, because every time you come to the finish, Wes, there's that stupid little incline where everyone pops their featherweights, their arrows, and kicks up to 8 watts per kilo. Like, just explain to the average viewer out there, how much does that actually take out of your legs, having to do that 8 times?
Yeah, 8 times, and especially when you get these little surges like this that we see Leonard now really testing people's legs. It definitely takes that sting out of the legs, and after you might be able to do it 3 or 4 times, but we see that pack now even whittling down each time we go over that little bit of a kick up to the finish there, and people, when they get over the climb, it's when they keep the pressure on as well. So if you're keeping that pressure on over the climb as well, because that's a bit, if you've already sort of started to get dangled, and then that's where you really have to commit to get up and over the top part of it, because it does keep dragging on there a little bit, and then that's when your legs either kick in or kick out. And it looks like a fair few people's legs have kicked out so far.
They have, but we're going to see now. This is the incline we're talking about. This is about 750 meters to the finish line come the final lap. They'll come over the top here, and they've got 500 to go. We've got Linton Savatsky popping his drafting power up to try and follow. I would imagine Hodges is holding an arrow. I would also imagine we're seeing Leonard holding an arrow somewhere, hitting for the final sprint. That's what Savatsky's really trying to get as they come over the top. It has been brought to my attention that we have almost 200 people watching over on Mixer at the current time. So, Wes, over on Mixer, most of those gentlemen and ladies, they may or may not have ever seen or heard of Zwift before, which is the software you're actually seeing on the screen. What is this, Wes? How do you get involved, and what do you have to do?
So first off, you see all these avatars on the screen now. So they're not being controlled by a remote. They're controlled by people's legs, actual power that they're producing by a bicycle. So they have their bicycle hooked up to a smart trainer. So a smart trainer, in effect, is a device you put your bike in that has like an inbuilt power meter. So the power and watts that you produce by pushing on the pedals feeds through to your avatar. And we see that here now with Leonard just absolutely putting some power out there. So he actually had a little bit of a dropout then. If you saw that go to 0, so he actually had a dropout. So with that power that these riders are producing, that feeds through their avatar, and then along the way they can pick up, like you can see above the avatars head, like in Mario Kart, you can pick up different sort of power-ups. So can the riders here on course. And so with that, they are racing against each other with the leg and pedal power. So it is a game in a sense, but also it's a very interactive game with actual physical output, powering these avatars.
And I mean, what's required to be at this level, if you have I assume it's for the average viewer out there that's watching on Mixer, go to your local gym and try to sustain, 40 kilometers an hour, 42 kilometers an hour on your spin bike at the gym. Do that for an hour and you see how much it actually takes out of the leg. That's almost the equivalent of what Zwift racing really is. It's high paced, you always have to keep your chain tight, there's no let up, there's no going, there is drafting in Zwift. And at the very highest level, riders can save 1 or 1.5 watts per kilo, but you're still putting out an effort. You're still seeing a raised heart rate, and it's one of the best workouts you can have. I would not be surprised to see something like this in every gym 10 years from now, because having that mental chasing a carrot in front of you, it just makes you want to go harder. I mean, for Wes, probably when you did the Amgen Tour of California race the other day, was there not one guy who were like, I gotta catch that guy?
Yeah, it was, and that was Hodges. I was trying to catch Hodges. He was out in front. He left me over the top of the epic KOM, and then I had to chase him for about, I guess, maybe 10K or more until I got him back with about 3 or 4K to go. So yeah, there definitely is that urge, and that if you're a competitive person, then you certainly love the racing aspect. But even if you're not, you would still be able to take part in the other group rides and social activities on Zwift as well.
We have another attack from Leonard from Innovation Cycling out on course. Another attack picking up to 8 watts per kilo. It's just too early. It doesn't look like Hodges wants to come with him. It doesn't look like Linton Savatsky's interested in a breakaway. He's only got Michel with him, and it's really difficult to beat the blob effect. If you're one rider against 7, most of the time, 7 will win. But gotta tip your hat, gotta take credit for Leonard actually lighting up the race. We're only 8 riders left in this front group when we started with 20. If you get a group of 2 or 3 off the front, that could be it.
Yeah, and we see Leonard here really wanting that to happen. Actually, he's really pushing for that to sort of go away. And I said after you go over the top here, this next section here where you have to, if you let off the pedals here, then you can easily get distance, and then you have to really do a bit of a surge to get back on. So Leonard's wanting to sort of force something now. Like you said, it still is early, but he's certainly wanting to sort of play the long game here.
One thing you will see as we get further into the Aussie Zwift season is that peloton will get bigger and bigger and stronger and faster and just incredibly fun to watch. And it really is a massive difference whether or not it's 8 riders, charting along in a chain gang, or you have 50 riders in a peloton with the express chain just going whoosh. And stay tuned, because every Tuesday we do this as we get further in, as everything gets more finalized, and maybe something will happen, maybe something won't. It'll be interesting to see all the big hitters, because down in Australia, you have one of the most competitive racing scenes in the entire world. If there is something to be won, you guys are like, okay, I'm strapping in my helmet, I'm getting on. Tell me how fast is cycling for how long. I want to win. What do you think, Wes?
Yeah, the community here has been very competitive towards the eCrit racing. We saw that last year. So there are a lot of the riders asking when the series will be starting, because they want to know so they can make all their effort count towards those points, which happens in the series. But we certainly saw some really great stories come out of the eCrit last year. And I'm sure that once the series kicks off again, then we'll definitely get some good numbers and some good stories floating around again.
Do you remember it was Robert Walsh who was he was on vacation or with work or whatever in Thailand, and he was up there in the Western eCrit, and he's like, I have to ride my bike somehow, I have to race this Tuesday evening. He went in, found a gym, found a local watt bike, got on. They had no fans, like unstable internet connection, but he got on and he gave it his best, and I think he almost finished that race. That's hilarious. Another story is Jeffrey Keel. His wife is like, Jeff, we have this vacation planned. We have to go camping this day. But he's like, it's on a Tuesday. I have to race the eCrit. So he brings a Le Mans, like Revolution, you know, the old wind-up trainers on the camp. He races on his 4G phone, and he still comes like top 5. And the stories just continue when it comes to the eCrit in Australia. They will not skip a week of racing. And like, how many months of racing did we do last year, Wes?
I think it was 5 to 6 months. Yeah, it was a long time. So we did see some really funny stories come out of that, because the guys just wanted to make sure that their points kept accumulating and they made that top 10, because it was really important. You know, a big honour to be invited to the final. So I'm sure we're going to see that again.
And it was good fun, I believe, for everyone to put faces to the avatars. So you got all these virtual risers, virtual pixels you're chasing as you get stronger. Well, they chase each other's bums for 5 months, 4 months, and then they get invited to Rafa Melbourne, and suddenly everyone is like, I think that's Aaron Dunn. Guys, I think that's the guy. And they walk over and they're like, Your Holy Grace, it's a pleasure to meet you. Have mercy. It's so cute to see 40-year-old men be completely starstruck by some guy they've been racing and chasing online.
Yeah, we did certainly see that. Everyone was like, I'm pretty. I heard the whispers. I'm pretty sure that's done. Yeah. But yeah, it was pretty special there for the people to come together, and we've had that throughout the Aussie ANZ tour in Auckland, and as well we had other riders meet other real life people that have been riding on Zwift for, you know, maybe like over a year or so, and they've finally met in real life. So yeah, it's funny to when people put faces to avatars.
Hey, I'm guilty of the very same thing. I mean, when we do the European tours, because Wes is down under, I'm based in the UK, so when we do the UK Zwift tours, I'm like, I raced that guy online. So I walk over there, I have the microphone, go, hello, and he's like, oh crap, he put me in front of everybody, this is awkward. It's so awesome. Like, the Zwift community is honestly what makes Zwift great. Like seeing Hodges and Leonard attack off the front. I'm sure if they raced in real life, they'd be like, let's do it. Should we do it again? The 1-2 stinger. It's honestly, Wes, the Zwift community is awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome, and we see that the other riders aren't letting them get away here. So it looks like, is it Michelle has come back as well now, so they're not letting that gap go out. But we did see some 600-watt bombs drop there, but it's all come back together. So Jesper, as well, for those people that aren't familiar with Zwift, the jerseys and wheels and bikes and things, what's going on there? There's some glowing bikes, there's some funky retro-looking jerseys there.
Well, most of you out there may have heard of, I was gonna compare it to like Sims, but what's a better comparison out there? You know, you level up and you unlock certain things. Maybe you play World of Warcraft. I don't know. There's so many out there, like cosmetics. Maybe a better idea now is Fortnite, as that's massive everywhere in Mixer and Twitch. You ride your bike, you become stronger, but not only do you become stronger, as you ride, you unlock certain cosmetics. Maybe it could be a new bike, like a glowing Tron bike you can see there, or it could be the new laser helmet, or right now the most sought out piece of equipment in all of Zwift is the light wheel Mellenstein wheels, or whatever they're called, that you can unlock by climbing the toughest mountain on Zwift. I have friends who have climbed that mountain 17 times and have yet to get the wheels, but they will continue to go up it because they want all the latest and best equipment. Some of the equipment will make you faster and stronger, like the great Zwift Insider has done research on what set of bikes and wheels would make you go faster over a certain course, or lighter or more aerodynamic. And these are all the sort of things you can tinker with yourself in your spare time. You can do one lap of a course and be like, I wonder what speed I could do if I changed my setup. Just like out in real life, like Wes, you used to be a pro. How much time did you and your mechanic spend tinkering with the setup, making sure everything is like the CDA is low and the speed is high and the watts are distributed evenly? How much time?
Oh, absolutely. Especially at the start of the season, all the teams, even though you have a bike fit that you're very happy with, and then if you're changing teams, or even if we're with the same team, you'll still go each year and have your bike fit done. Most of the pro teams, like I said, even some of the the seasoned pros that are your captains we'll go through that bike fit as well, just to make sure that nothing's been tweaked, especially their training bikes. If they're bringing in their training bikes, to make sure they match up with their race bikes, because slowly over time, things get tweaked, or handlebars might be adjusted a little bit differently. So all those little things. So their race bike and their training bike should be identical, obviously, for the reasons of you're training on it all the time. You want it to feel the same as your race bike. The only thing that's probably is a little bit different is your time trial bike, because obviously that's a lot more aggressive position. But you had someone like Luke Durbridge who would take his time trial bike home. Not many riders would. But obviously, if you specialize in that sort of thing, then he'd take his time trial bike home and he'd ride his time trial bike on a recovery day, just to get used to the position, pretty much. So, just to get familiar with that position, so it didn't come to race day and he had to get in this awkward position. He'd go for his recovery day in this awkward position on his time trial bike. So, yeah, it's interesting that everyone will tweak with their position. Some people are more particular than others. Me, myself, I wasn't too particular, but I certainly would know if something was off, and I'd always double check things.
Before we continue on that subject, because it's a very fascinating topic, we've got James Hodges attacking with 4 laps to go. He's got 6 seconds on the group behind. He's one of the riders who could definitely make this stick, and we'll keep an eye on to see how Leonard Savatsky and Michelle reacts to this as Hodges is out in the front. But I think one fact, Wes, that riders and spectators don't really know is that you as the rider, you don't actually own the bike, or in most cases, you don't own the bike that's been given to you. Like the team actually owns the bike, and then they distribute it to the certain riders around the course. So if you join a new team, you could actually be given like an old guy's bike who's ridden it last year, and you then have to fix it to your setting. Like it's not really as glamorous as people make it look on TV. It's a hand-me-down bike.
No, it depends on what profile of team you're on. If you're on a world tour team, then you're handed a brand new bike. Exception will be if you're in the team last year and you already had a training bike, and maybe you don't need to update that, so you keep that same bike. But maybe in the pro continental ranks, I remember when I was with Drakeback, we kept our training bike again for the following year for my brother. But yeah, generally with world tour teams, all the sponsors as well, even though you're out training on the training bike, it is still out and seen. So they usually want the riders on the latest latest bike, and also might be a change of group set or change of sponsors as well. So if they're using data bars, or they want a pro stem and that sort of thing. So some things can become conflicting. So as well as that, the teams, even though you might want to keep your training bike and say, oh, I'm happy with this one, they will give you an updated version anyway.
One of the one of the interesting things about the early season is all the manufacturers, as Leonard tries to bridge to James Hodges, is that all the manufacturers will actually give out some prototype stuff for like the pro riders to test out and bring onto the big screen, and then you'll have like Cycling News, Cycling Weekly, Cycling Tips. They'll have their binoculars out and be like, oh, that's a new SRAM group set, or Stages has a new power meter for Team Sky, or whatever. How much does that mean to you, Wes, to be able to test the new and latest equipment, or did you not care at all?
No, it was pretty cool. I remember testing out the carbon Dura-Ace pedals. When they first released those, I still have a pair that says prototype on them. So they handed them out. That was when I was with FDJ, and also 2009 for the Vuelta a España. The Di2 wasn't released, and they gave it all out to the French teams. They rode it in Roubaix as well that year, 2009. I didn't myself, but I rode it in the Volta. And I remember going through, we started the Volta in Holland that year, and it was quite twisty and turny and a lot of roundabouts, as there are in Holland, and cars parked on the side of the roads. It was a very tight little circuit where we started, and I was going through these corners quite aggressively, and then going like this to change gears, and it would move this much. So I end up at the end of the day had strained my my middle finger from changing the gears too hard, and I was actually getting a massage that night on my arm from straining. It was my first Grand Tour as well, so I was quite scared and a little bit stressed as well. So I was trying to push to change gears, and the electronic only moves a couple of mil, and I was trying to push it across like the old cable. Yeah, so yeah, that was quite funny, and it's quite a good privilege to be able to test those things. And I'm sure that most riders, do take pride in being able to test these things. But it was funny they give all of these little things out to the French teams in case they did stuff up, I think.
In the meanwhile, as we go down memory lane with Wesley Salzberger, former pro, racing Tour de France, James Hodges has been caught and is now Grupo Compacto, as Nathan Garrett would say. We have 6 riders in the front group with about 3 laps of racing to go. I'm sure James Hodges will give it another go at some point, but this time Linton Savatsky and Leonard will be ready to go with them. So it's been a fast race so far. They've done 24 kilometers, about half an hour, which means they'll average around 48, 47 kilometers an hour. Well, actually, is that math correct, Wes? It'd be double the speed, double the kilometers, correct?
Yeah, we'll go with that. We'll just go with that. That sounds good to me. Yeah, I was just about to comment.
Case in 30 minutes, you times it by 2, and then you have how many Ks they cover. Anyway, Wes, go on. Sorry.
I was just about to say that Linton's gone for the retro jersey here tonight. I can't. Can you remember what Linton was racing in last year?
Always the same.
Was he in the retro jersey? He wasn't all the way through. I'm sure he took it on the last part of it.
From what I remember, he was definitely on this one. I remember him on this jersey and also the carbon bike, the white carbon bike. He's gone away from the carbon bike and now on a trek. I need to have a look. I'll have a look at the companion app to see what level he is, because he may not have unlocked a higher level bike. But he's always been on this, always at sea. It's just as iconic as Mr. Bumblebee, Wes.
Yeah, Mr. Bumblebee. We see he's got a fair few ride-ons as well. Linton's coming to the front now, and it looks like he's got a fair few thumbs hanging out the back pockets. I'm pretty sure the Trek is level 21, if I'm correct. So maybe he prefers the Trek, or he is up to level 21. Jasper will confirm that in a minute, but Michelle is also in there. These riders are really just floating along here now. We see the watts come off a little bit. Linton's now at 160 to 200 watts. So they were not pushing up too hard up through this volcano now. Did we find out what Linton was on?
I can't actually find him out on course. I'm not gonna. So when you're on the game, when you're in Zwift and you try to find somebody, it's like sequence based, and I think I'm on the wrong side of the course or something. I might be going the opposite way. I'm not sure, but I can't quite find him. But I would imagine he's level 22, 23, almost 25, which is the highest level cap right now available on Zwift. So as we move into the final, Wes, what can the viewers out there expect and watching on Facebook, on Mixer? We've got about 14 kilometers to go. What's going to happen?
I reckon we'll see Linton follow the moves of Hodge. Hodges will definitely try and go long. So we'll expect to see him attack probably the next time up through the volcano. And the other riders here I'm unfamiliar with, but it'll be interesting to see whether they respond as well. Someone might be lurking here that have looked after their legs and sort of let these other 2 riders, especially Hodges, go with those surges. So there could be a couple little surprises there as well, Jasper. I'm excited to see what rolls out here. Looks like Hodges is just testing the legs here now. He didn't attack as much as so. He's just sort of just slowly eased on the pressure from 300 up to 400 watts. And he's just sort of testing the waters here now to see if anyone's going to try to go with him. And it wouldn't surprise me if he starts to get a bit of a lead and then he'll just absolutely step on it for a good sort of probably 2 minutes or so to try and get a gap. And that's sort of what he's done in the past. So he's testing the waters here now. A couple of riders going across to him. Where's Zavatsky now? Zavatsky is towards the back of that group. He's sitting there, sitting pretty.
Yes. So Wes, actually, Hodges, while we've been watching this race, has actually changed jerseys. He went from that KRT, very specific KRT jersey, to the pink jersey. Why is that?
I was going to say I didn't think he was in pink at the start of this race. So yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe he wants to call himself out that these other riders can definitely pick him out if he goes attacks to get away. Probably not the best method. I'd probably go more the stealth sort of jersey, but each their own here.
I will let you know, Wes, that's not actually his own choice. So due to the fact it's the Giro d'Italia right now, I think they've replaced the leaders' jerseys with the pink jersey. Or it might be I'm Tour of California. I'm not actually 100. I could just be talking complete nonsense. But I do believe that Zwift changed the jerseys and the banners out on course to represent either the Amkin Tour of California or the Giro d'Italia, both happening right now in the real racing world.
Okay, so maybe it's an in-game unlock. Maybe it was he's the fastest out on course, but he'd have an orange little symbol next to him. But I'm not quite sure anyway. He looks like he's picked up a pink jersey, so he's going to have to own that for now. Savatzi's certainly going to be able to pick him out here now, and so are the other. We've got Camo Hosk as well. Camo Hosk has been in there as well, so it'd be interesting to see whether these other riders are going to try and sit pretty and then sort of either do a bit of a shake and bake for the sprint or try and get away early. But certainly Hodges is probably the prime person to attack here.
Yeah, I think we need to do our prediction. Whereas last week you had Cameron Roberts, I had Mr. Boom Bike. This week, who are you going to go with?
Oh well, it'd be hard actually to go past Hodges actually with the way he rode the other day when I was with him. If he can get that gap and hold on to it, I don't think the others will bring him back.
See, I like your pick, but I'm going to race you. I think Leonard will follow Hodges and will come around Hodges in a two-man sprint. I think we'll see a two-man breakaway in either the penultimate lap or the final lap, leaving Savatski chasing behind because he wants a sprint, but he's not going to get it. We're going to see Leonard and Hodges fight it out, with Michel being the very, very sad bridesmaid just off the podium in fourth, trying to fight to get back on. But here we go. We're going up the hill. We'll see if anyone's going to light it up with 3 laps to go. We got Hodges taking it up. It could be the fact that he's got the fastest time on this.
Here we go. Here we go. He's off. He's off.
But Savatski's
he's off and racing now.
Per kilo west. Leonard is at 8. Michel is at 8. Powell's is at 9. Is at 10. This is what we're talking about earlier. Every time we come to this incline, due to the fact that they're on smart trainers and it will tense up, they're going to have to fight that little gradient resistance as they go over the top on their bikes, as they're now lapping riders out on course. Hodges is going to continue though. He continues over the top. He's not letting go. Where most riders would sit up and be like, oh, thank God it's over. Hodges is using that to his advantage, and he's holding 7.5 with Leonard and Michel fast on his wheel, Wes.
Yeah, he didn't quite get that gap on those other riders there. It looked like they were quick and ready to spawn, and Lavatsky's also there now. So Hodges has got his work cut out. He really needs to be able to get that gap, and it looks like these other riders have that enough spring in their step to easily jump on the back of him.
2 laps to go. The only casualty was Camo Hosk and Kevin Powell's that have both been dropped off the back, but they've been touch and go so far for the last few laps. Every time the pace has been up, every time there's been an acceleration, they've been the 2 riders to go off the back. So we didn't expect much of them. It's a brilliant effort from them, but we're getting into the big boy territory now with 2 laps to go. 4 riders in the front, Wes. Linton Savatski, Hodges, Leonard, and Michel. It's tens right
with
now.
Linton. It is, with Linton responding easily with these surges too. Like, he could be definitely up there with a chance with this kick. But obviously, like you said, the uphill probably doesn't suit him as much. Probably would suit Leonard a little bit more suited to Leonard for that style of finish. But it's certainly going to be interesting to watch. Now we see Hodges sort of go to the front again here now, but still holding back. Maybe he's realised he's not going to be able to get away here. So, but the other thing is with Hodges as well, he's not that strong a sprinter. He hasn't got that much kick compared to these other riders here. So his only option is really get away. So he's probably going to have to do the double attack like he tried before. He's going to have to attack and then attack again when everyone brings him back for him to get any sort of a gap. So that's certainly going to be very challenging for him now, especially coming in this ultimate lap as well.
But if you look up in the top left corner, you can see his heart rate. It's at 142. I believe he beats up to at least 175, 180-ish. So with 40 beats to go with, he is right where he wants to be right now, James Hodges. I think he's going to go for a long one. Because as you mentioned, he doesn't really seem to have that top-end power in a sprint. He can hold power for days, but to get that initial kick to break the draft, he doesn't seem to quite have mastered yet. And he knows this. He's a really smart, intelligent rider. He's the man, he's one of the men behind SwiftPower.com, the ultimate racing database for everything Zwift. He knows what he's doing. He's seen a fair few races. He's raced a fair few races. He knows when to attack and how far to go and whether or not it's going to stick. We've not seen the last of the Hedgehog.
The Hedgehog, is that his nickname, or is you just calling it out now?
That's what Nathan Garrett calls him, so I'm just plagiarizing my colleague over in the States. I mean, I'll pay royalties all day, but those quotes are too good.
Okay, Hedgehog. That's great. So we see them go up through the volcano here now, and everyone's sort of just doing that look around. You know, that 240 watts here. The cadence is quite low as well. We're at 68 in the 60s here now. So you call that the strength endurance efforts like that I gave you one time, Jasper, that you really enjoyed. So you know they're using a lot of the power stored in the muscles going in that lower cadence. But you can do it for so long, but it looks like we've only got a little bit to go. So you can probably call on it now. That does actually lower the heart rate a little bit. So that may be his method here as well.
Are you still involved in your en-route coaching? Like you used to coach me, which you did a really good job on last year when we did the eCrit coverage. Are you still involved in that?
I've only got a couple of athletes that I coach now. Yeah, with Zwift taking up the majority of my time now. I can't quite offer what I used to my clients, so I've slowly whittled down to a couple of athletes that I'm still working with.
Oh, offer you me give them hell on a bike to make them stronger? Yeah, I seem to have a faint memory somewhere in the back of my mind. Yeah, you suck, Wes.
Jasper, I think you probably, what was it? You probably did every bit of training that I like, all the different phases all in 1 month of what I do. You did some strength endurance, you did some speed work, you did some long endurance. I threw everything at you. I gave you some 40-20 efforts to really produce some lactate for you. And you handled it really well. And I think that was it, Circle of Death that you had to complete, and you completed that and actually had a coffee and a croissant at the top and waited for the others to show up, didn't you?
That's unfair, but yes, technically yes. With the training, we completed the infamous Tour de France Circle of Death route. Look it up. It's a spin, a beast. I don't even remember now. Is it? It's not Tourmalet. It might have been.
You got Aspen in there as well.
Yes,
yeah, you got a lot of. Yeah, a lot of brutal climbs there, all in one day. So these riders now again back around that 200 watt mark here. No one really wants to lay anything on the line here. Everyone's sort of looking at each other. It looks like they're sort of all just slowly backing off from the front, and they're rolling through for turns. And we see Hodges go now. The hedgehog is off and racing. And it looks like a few power-ups there going now too, Jesper, as well. But it's going to be hard for him to get this gap.
It's Camo Haas using his featherweight. He is struggling to hang on. He's using every bit of advantage to try and go with this one. I think we're going to see Hodges and Leonard. They're going to keep this going now because we're about to head out to the final lap of race in the last 4 kilometers. And if you want to make your gap, this is where you do it. Leonard and Hodges right here should continue on the pace all the way to the finish line, because it will break some legs right now. It'll break minds, it'll break legs, it'll break spirits, and that is what Hodges is doing. He's done this so many times, Wes. It's going to be a while before he lets go.
Yeah, he's going to try and hold on to this as long as he can and try and break these riders, but it looks like they haven't quite got that gap on them, and they're holding on the wheel here now, so I don't think he's going to be able to get rid of Leonard. And looks like we've got another power-up pulled there as well. So Michelle,
on the limit.
So Michelle, and that was just coming on the finish banner as well, so he would have picked up something else. He just pushed it in time there, so hoping for that aero power-up. So we're still not out of this game here yet for Hodges to try and get away. But there's a bell of Jasper Anchor with 2 muck-off bottles there. Hold on, let me see. Hold on, what have I got? No, oh, there it is. There we go. That's the bell. The old bell's ringing.
Welcome to the Zwift live streams, where Wes and Jasper still have not found a proper cowbell to use to signal the last lap of racing. Thank you very much to Wendy Superfan for actually doing that at the live event last year, and I do hope we get to see your lovely face and lovely attitude towards racing again. She is amazing, and her cowbell was hilarious. It was massive.
It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't one bell. It was a whole parade of bells. And looks like we see a hedgehog going again here now. He's not letting up. Just as the riders sort of started to think that they're going to come down to a sprint, he's taken it up now, 500 watts, and he's not letting off. And it looks like Leonard is the one chasing up as well. So, oh, it's Michelle. Sorry, Michelle is chasing him now.
The thing is,
Michelle's got another lifeline
effect on this course. Meanwhile, while Hodges and everyone's pacing really hard, Linton Savatsky trusted the draft, sat at 5s, sat at 6s, while Hodges and Michel and Leonard were all at the 8s and high 9s almost. And Linton Savatsky went, I'll beat you in a sprint. I'm going to trust the draft. Just sit in the back and do exactly what's necessary and nothing else. We've not seen the last. There's about 2 kilometers left of racing, 2.5 kilometers left of racing. There will be another tag from either Michel, Leonard, or Hodges, because they should all know how good of a sprinter Linton Savatsky is. He's got power for days. He will take you to the line and beat you like you've never been beaten before.
Yeah, and Savatsky, I'm sure with his experience, has picked up an aero power-up and has been probably safeguarding it for the last couple of laps as well. So we see that experience here, like you were saying, Jesper, with those other riders going with those surges over in the orange sort of light up. You see that our orange light up mean, they're going over that 8 watts a kilo or more. So we saw Linton sort of sitting back, and we've got an attack here by
Powell's was made the way
Powell.
back. So he was dropped, he made his way back, and he went, maybe they won't notice me. I'm going to attack off the front and try to sneak an attack off. But it's actually Linton Savatsky closing this one down. He is being the marked man right now. He is the guy everyone is trying to beat. Kevin Powell's from WBR out of Belgium giving this one a go. Now, who's going to continue over the top? Who is the next one? It could be Hodges. It could be Leonard, but no, 2 watts per kilo. His heart rate has come up, and effort hurt.
Yes, we see these riders here now. They know it's too close almost to the finish line here now. And if they are hurting, then they probably don't want to go on with anything because they will have nothing really to push in that last uphill sprint. So if anyone's hurting now, then they're not going to try and attack over the top of it, especially so close to the finish now. So these riders are all sort of foxing now. It's going to be really interesting to see who has the power-ups and who has the legs.
Hodges has to go again at some point. Hodges knows this. He has to go. There's about 1 kilometer and 800 meters, 900 meters to go now. They come down this straight, and the very end of this straight, they go left, and they go up that incline you've seen so many times, and they enter the final 700 meters inside the volcano to the line. The sprint is very, very tricky, but if you've got the power and if you come from far back and use the draft to your advantage, you can win it. We saw this course be used for the European and the American eCrit, and it was all about being second or third wheel going into that sprint, and we're going to see Linton Savatsky do that now. But if you are Michel, if you are Leonard, you must be questioning yourself now. You must be, like, as a racer, you should not have any doubt on what to do.
Yeah.
But it is Zwift. It's difficult to know what the other guy's feeling. Oh, arrow.
Yeah, definitely.
Arrow. Here we go, Wes. Here we go. Arrow from this far out. This is 1 kilometer to go. He's about to turn left onto that incline. 1 kilometer effort. He's taking a page out of Pat Shaw's racing book on Zwift. James Hodges, 9 watts per kilo. How is Savatsky, Leonard, and the rest going to respond to this attack? What an effort, Wes. 11 watts per kilo from Savatsky now. 2 seconds up to Hodges. Can he chase that pink jersey? He's going to have to keep up the pressure now to the line. But the issue is, Wes, he's chasing back. He's putting back Leonard and Michel as Hodges has not let go. Actually, 1 watt per kilo, 2 watt per kilo. Hodges is reloading. But here comes the arrow for Linton Savatsky. Wes, there's no taking this one back.
That's where experience comes in. Savatsky did not use that power up early on. And we saw Leonard use his power up, and now Savatsky's turned it on, and he's going to go all the way to the line here with that power up and definitely hold on here. So that was awesome work by Savatsky as he goes over the line there now, and he's got that running one.
Michel third. Hodges blew a gasket on that one. He just died. I mean, kudos for giving it a go. He knew what to do. He threw everything out there, and he just rolled not sixes.
Yeah.
So, well,
he had to roll the dice, like you said. That was his only option. He was never going to roll Savatsky in a straight up sprint. Or Leonard as well. So that was pretty awesome. Good to see you getting the ride-ons there, Jasper. And great job for everyone turning out tonight. Well done to Linton Savatsky.
To everyone out watching there on the Mixer, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or wherever you're watching on the TV, on the phone, on the tablet, on the toilet, Thank you so much for watching with us. We do this every Tuesday. Make sure to click a follow, a like, or a comment down below. And we'll see you next Tuesday, same time, right here on the Zwift Facebook channels.